Hey guys, I hope everyone's good. You're all enjoying the sunshine. It's gorgeous out this weekend, so make sure you try and get out and enjoy it if you can. If you've a garden or a balcony, or even just go for your walk. Right, I'm going to continue on with the book, and we're on to chapter 3. It's a bit longer, but something quite dramatic happens, so I think it'll be good kind of leave it for the weekend one. Right, chapter 3, Ship's Log. Ship's Log is kind of like almost like a diary for the ship, where you're writing what happened every day. September 20th. It's 5 in the morning. I'm on watch in the cockpit and no one else is awake. We left Southampton 10 days ago now. The channel was full of tankers. There were dozens of them going up and down. So either Mum or Dad took turns on watch the first 2 nights. They wouldn't let me. I don't know why. There wasn't any fog and I can see it just as well as they can. We're planning on sailing about 200 miles a day. That's about 8 knots. But in the first week, if we're very lucky, we were lucky if we made 50 miles a day. Barnacle Bill warned us about the Bay of Biscay, so we were expecting it to be bad, and it was. Force 9 gale, force 10 sometimes. That force kind of how strong the storm is. We were slammed about all over the place. I thought we'd sink. I really did. Once, when we came up to the top of a wave, I saw the bow of the Peggy Sue pointing straight up at the moon. It was like she was going to take off. Then we were hurled down the other side so fast I was sure we were going to reach the bottom. It was bad. I mean, it was horrible, really horrible. But then the Peggy Sue didn't fall apart and we made it to Spain. Mum gets quite snappy with us sometimes when we don't do things right. Dad doesn't seem to mind, not out here, not at sea. He just winks at me and we get on with it. They play a lot of chess together when it's calm enough. Dad's winning so far, 5 games to 3. Mum says she's not bothered, but she is, I can tell. We only spent a few days in La Coruna. Mum slept a lot. She was really tired. Dad did some work on the rudder cable while we were there. He's still not happy with it though. We set off for the Azores 2 days ago. Yesterday was the best day we've had for sailing. Strong breeze, blue sky, and warm sun out to dry things out. My blue shorts fell off the washing line into the sea. Doesn't matter. I never really liked them much anyways. We saw gannets slicing into the sea all around us this afternoon. Really excellent. Stella Artois went mad. I'm fed up with baked beans already, and there's stacks of them down below. Yeah, there's going to be loads of place names I can't pronounce, so sorry in advance. Today I saw Africa. Sorry, October 11th. Today I saw Africa. It was in the distance, but Mum said it was definitely Africa. We're going down the west coast. Mum showed me the chart. That's kind of where they're going. The wind will take us down the coast for a few hundred miles, then across the Atlantic to South America. We mustn't drift off course, else we'll get into the doldrums. There's no wind there at all, and we could be stuck becalmed there for weeks, forever maybe. It's the hottest day we've ever had. Dad's very red in the face, and the top of his ears are peeling. I'm more nutty brown like Mum. Saw flying fish early this morning, and so did Stella. Then Mum saw a shark off the port bow. A basking shark, she thought. I got the binocular out, but I never saw it. She said I should write it down in my notebook anyway, and then I should draw it. I looked them up. They're massive, but they don't eat people, just fish and plankton. I like doing my drawings. My best one so far is a flying fish. I sent a card to from the Cape Verde Islands. I wish he could be here. We'd have a real laugh. Stella loves to chase the football around the cabin and pounce on it. She'll puncture it one day. I know she will. Dad's been a bit gloomy and Mum's gone to lie down. She's got a headache. I think they've had a bit of a tiff. I don't know what exactly, but I think it's about chess. November 16th. We've just left Recife, I think. That's in Brazil. We were there 4 days. We had a lot of repairs to do on the boat. Something was wrong with the wind generator and the rudder cable still sticking. I've played I've played football in Brazil. Did you hear that, Eddie? I've played football in Brazil, and with your lucky football. Dad and me were just having a kickabout on the beach, and before we knew it, we had a dozen kids joining in. It was a proper game. Dad set it up. We picked sides. I called my side Mudlarked, and he called his Brazil, so they all wanted to play on his side, of course. But Mum joined in on my side, and we won. Mudlarks 5, Brazil 3. Mum invited them back for a Coke on board afterwards. Stella growled at them and bared her teeth, so we had to shut her down in the cabin. They tried out their English on us. They only know 2 words, goal and Manchester United. That's 3, I suppose. Mum had the films developed. There's one of some leaping dolphins, another of me at the winch, Mum's at the wheel, another of Dad hauling down the mainsail and making a right mess of it. There's one of me diving off a rock into the sea when we stopped in the Canaries. There's one of Dad fast asleep and sunbathing on the deck, and Mum giggling. She's about to dribble a sun cream all over his tummy. I took that one, my best photo. Then there's one of me doing my maths, sulking and sticking my tongue out. December 25th, Christmas Day at sea. Dad found some carols on the radio. We had crackers, all of them a bit soggy, so none of them cracked, and we had the Christmas pudding Gran made for us. I gave them a drawing each, my flying fish for Dad and one of the skipper in her hat at the wheel for Mum. They gave me a really neat knife that they bought in Rio, so I gave them a coin back. You're supposed to do that, it's for luck. When we were in Rio, we gave the Peggy Sue a good scrub down. She was looking a bit manky inside and outside, but she's not anymore. We took on a lot of stores and water for the long haul to South Africa. Mum says we're doing fine, just so long as we keep south, so long as we stay in the west to east South Atlantic. There we go. Current. We passed south of an island called St. Helena a few days ago. No need to stop. Nothing much there, except it's the place where Napoleon was exiled. He died there. Lonely place to die. So exile is kind of when you're sent away as a punishment. So of course I had to do a history project on Napoleon. I had to look him up in the encyclopedia and write about him. It was quite interesting, really, but I didn't tell them that. Stella's sulking on my bunk. Maybe it's because no one gave her a Christmas present. I offered her a taste of Gran's Christmas pudding, but she hardly gave it a sniff. Can't say I blame her. I saw sail another yacht. We shouted Happy Christmas and waved, and Stella barked her head off, but they were too far away. Then, when the sail disappeared, the sea suddenly felt very empty. Mum won on the chess this evening. She's ahead now, 21 games to 20. Dad said he let her win because it was Christmas. They joke about it, but they both want to win. January 1st. Africa again. Cape Town. Table Mountain. And this time, we're not just sailing by, we're going to put in there. They told me this evening. They didn't want to tell me before in case we couldn't afford it, but we can. We're going to stay a few weeks, maybe more. We're going to see elephants and lions in the wild. I can't believe it. I don't think they can either. When they told me, they were like a couple of kids, all laughing and happy. They were never like this at home. These days, they really smiled at each other. Mum's getting stomach cramps. Dad wants her to see a doctor in Cape Town, but she won't. I reckon it's the baked beans. The good news is that the baked beans have at last run out. The bad news is that we had sardines for supper. Yuck! February 7th. We're hundreds of miles out in the Indian Ocean, and then this happens. Stella hardly ever comes up on a deck unless it's flat calm. I don't know why she came up. I don't know why she was there. We were all busy, I suppose. Dad was brewing up down in the galley, and Mum was at the wheel. I was doing one of my navigation lessons, taking bearings of the sextant. The Peggy Sue was pitching and rolling a bit. I had to steady myself. I looked up and saw Stella at the bow of the ship. 1 minute she was just standing there, the next she was gone. We had practiced the man overboard drill dozens of times back in the Solvent with Barnacle Bill. Shout and point. Keep shouting, keep pointing. Turn into the wind. Get the sails down quick. Engine on. By the time Dad had the mainsail and the jib down, we were already heading back towards her. I was doing the pointing and the shouting too. She was paddling for her life in the green of a looming wave. Dad was leaning over the side and reaching for her, but he didn't have his safety harness on, and Mum was going mad. She was trying to bring the boat in as close and as slow as she could, but a wave took Stella away from us at the last moment. We had to turn and come back again. All of the time I was pointing and shouting. 3 times we came in, but each time we passed her. Either we were going too fast or she was out of reach. She was weak by now. She was hardly paddling. She was going under. We had one last chance. We came in again, perfectly this time, and close enough for Dad to be able to reach out and grab her. Between the 3 of us, we managed to haul Stella back into a boat by her collar, by her tail. I got a well done monkey face from Dad, and Dad got a huge rollicking from Mum for not wearing his safety harness. Dad just put his arms around her and she cried. Stella shook herself and went below as if nothing had happened. Mum has made a strict rule. Stella Artois is never to go out on deck, whatever the weather, without a safety harness clipped on like the rest of us. Dad's going to make one for her. I still dream of the elephants in South Africa. I loved how slow they are and thoughtful. I loved their wise, weepy necks. Necks, I know what I'm talking about. I can still see those snooty giraffes looking down at me and the lion cub sleeping with his mother's tail in his mouth. I did lots of drawings and I keep looking at them to remind me the sun in Africa is so big, so red. Australia next. Kangaroos and possums and wombats. Uncle John's going to meet us in Perth. I've seen photos of him, but I've never met him. Dad said this evening he's only a distant uncle. Very distant, Mum said, and they both laughed. I didn't get the joke till I thought about it again when I came on watch. The stars are so bright and Stella has been saved. I think I'm happier than I have been all my life. April 3rd. Off Perth, Australia. Until today it has been nothing but empty ocean all the way from Africa. I love it more and more when it's just us and Peggy Sue and the sea. We all do, I think. But then, when we sight land, we always get so excited. When we saw Australia for the first time, we hugged each other and jumped up and down. It's like we're the first sailors to ever discover it. Stella Artois barked at us as if we were mad as hatters, and we probably are. But we've done it. We've sailed all the way from England to Australia. That's halfway around the world, and we did it on our own. Mum has been getting her stomach cramps again. She's definitely going to see a doctor in Australia. She's promised us, and we've made her keep it. May 28th. At sea again after nearly 6 weeks with Uncle John. We thought we were going to stay in Perth for just a few days, but he said we had to see Australia properly when we were there. He took us to stay with his family on a huge farm. Thousands of sheep. He's got masses of horses, so I went riding a lot with my 2 little cousins, Beth and Liza. They're only 7 and 8, but they could really ride. They called me Mikey, and by the time we left, they both wanted to marry me. We're going to be pen pals instead. I saw a snake called a copperhead. Uncle John said it could have killed me if I'd trodden on it. He told me to watch out for redback spiders in the toilet. I didn't go to the toilet very often after that. They called us their pommy cousins, and we had barbecues every evening. They gave us a great time, but I was happy to get back to the Peggy Sue. I missed her while I was gone, like I miss Eddie. I've been sending him cards, funny animal cards, if I can find them. I sent him one of a wombat. I saw a wombat too, and hundreds of possums and lots of kangaroos. And they've got white cockatoos in Australia like we've got sparrows at home. Millions of them. But out here, it's gulls again. Wherever we've been in the world, there's always gulls. The plan is we're going to put in at Sydney, explore the Barrier Reef for a bit, and then go through the Coral Sea and up towards Papua New Guinea. Mum's stomach cramps are much better. The doctor in Australia said it was most probably something she'd eaten. Anyway, she's better now. It's really hot and heavy. It's calm too. No wind. We're hardly moving. I can't see any clouds, but I'm sure a storm is coming. I can feel it. July 28th. I look around me. It's a dark, dark night. No moon, no stars. But it's calm again at last. I'll be 12 tomorrow, but I don't think anyone except me will remember it. We've had a terrible time, far worse than ever in the Bay of Biscay. Ever since we left Sydney, it's been nothing just storm after storm, and each one blows us further north along the Coral Sea. The rudder cable has snapped. Dad's done what he can, but it's still not right. The self-steering doesn't work anymore, so someone's got to be at the wheel all the time. That means Dad or me because Mum is sick. It's her stomach cramps again, but they're a lot worse. She doesn't want to eat at all. All she has is sugared water. She hasn't been able to look at the charts for 3 days. Dad wants to put out a mayday call, but Mum won't let him. She says that's giving in, and she's never giving in. Dad and I have been doing the navigation together. We've been doing our best, but I don't think we know where we are anymore. They're both asleep down below. Dad's really wiped out. I'm at the wheel in the cockpit. I've got Eddie's football with me. It's been lucky so far. And now we really need it. We need Mum to get better or we're in real trouble. I don't know if we could stand another storm. Thank God it's calm. It'll help Mum to sleep. You can't sleep when you're being slammed about all the time. It is so dark out there. Black. Stella's barking. She's up by the bow. She hasn't got her harness clipped on. Those were the last words I ever wrote in my log. After that, it's just empty pages. I tried calling Stella first, but she wouldn't come. So I left the wheel and went forward to bring her back. I took the ball with me to sweeten her in, to tempt her away from the boat. I crouched down. Come on, Stella, I said, rolling the ball from hand to hand. Come and get the ball. I felt the boat turn a little in the wind, and I knew then I shouldn't have left the wheel. The ball rolled away from me quite suddenly. I lunged after it, but it had gone over the side before I could grab it. I lay there on the deck watching it bob away into the darkness. I was furious with myself for being so silly. I was cursing myself when I thought I heard the sound of singing. Someone was singing out there in the darkness. I called out, but no one replied. So that's what Stella had been barking at. I looked again for my ball, but by now it had disappeared. That ball had been very precious to me, precious to all of us. I knew then that I had lost a great deal more than a football. I was angry at Stella. The whole thing had been her fault. She was still barking. I couldn't hear the singing anymore. I called her again, whistled her in. She wouldn't come. I got to my feet and went forward. I took her by the collar and pulled. She would not be moved. I couldn't drag her all the way back, so I bent down to pick her up. She was still reluctant. Then I had her in my arms, but she was still struggling. I heard the wind above me in the sails. I remember thinking, this is silly. You haven't got your safety harness on. You haven't got your life jacket on. You shouldn't be doing this. Then the boat veered violently and I was thrown sideways. With my arms full, I had no time to catch the guardrail. We were in the cold of the sea before I could open my mouth to scream. Chapter 4, Gibbons and Ghosts, which I will come to on Monday. All right, guys, enjoy your 3-day weekend. Enjoy the sunshine, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.